Bones are amazing things. They hold us up, they support us, they make us strong. But bones have other uses. In the past, bones were thrown by diviners, seeking out the mysteries of the future. Now the bones are cubes, made of plastic or resin, but they still reveal things to us. As they fall from our fingers and rattle across the table, the story becomes clear. Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater, an RPG actual play podcast.
Hello, and thank you very much for joining us for this one-shot edition of Bone Throwers Theater. I am going to be your keeper today, Jordan.
My name is Jeff. I have no idea what I'm doing yet, so we'll figure that out in a minute.
Absolutely.
And I'm Jeremy.
I am Aaron.
And I'm Elijah.
And Elijah is sitting in with us. We're actually having a few of our regulars were not able to make it today. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Mike. He wasn't able to make it. But Johnny is on a boat somewhere in the Caribbean, from what I understand.
Yeah, they should be on their way back today.
Yeah,
And
well,
they'll be back in port tomorrow.
it's still grievously unfair.
I agree. Especially since I was considered for being taken on this trip, but was denied.
Oh, who's the favorite son?
No, they wanted to take my niece. So
Oh, okay, understood.
Okay.
that's the only reason that Johnny got to go, was because they wanted to take Hannah.
Has nothing to do with Johnny.
Has nothing to do with it. None whatsoever.
So anyway, back to the game. Now that we've covered absences, we are going to be playing a very fun game. It is called Monster of the Week, and it is by Michael Sands. It is actually, this is the second edition of the game. The original game was self-published. For the second edition, it was actually put out by Evil Hat, which is a publishing company that's done a lot of fun games. Evil Hat, yeah, they went ahead, they put out Monster of the Week. A Monster of the Week is powered by the Apocalypse, which means that it's run off of the same basic rules as the game Apocalypse World. And Vincent Banker, the guy who came up with Apocalypse World, basically has a chapter in the book where he's like, this is how you can hack it to do whatever you want with any type of world. So there's a lot of different games. There's Dungeon World, there's Monster Hearts, there is Monster of the Week, there's Thieves in the Dark is a new one that just came out. So there's a whole bunch of different flavors of this particular rule engine. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of improv. Basically, it's what they call a story game, which is a lot of fun. So how it works is that we have two 6-sided dice, and you go ahead and you roll those against a basic chart of what's going on. If you're rolling like under 7 is you don't succeed. But if it's like from 7 to 9, or 6 to 9, I think it is. If it's 6 to 9, then you succeed, but at a cost. And then if you roll 10 to 12, then you succeed fantastically. So it's a really easy system. If you don't succeed, or then you pretty much fail outright. I get to tell you how you fail. If you succeed at a cost, then I get to give it to you, but then throw a little bit of extra harm in your way. Maybe harm, maybe misdirection, maybe,
It's probably going to be harm.
Yeah. Knowing Jeff, it's going to be his entire family dies in front of him.
Yeah, something like that would happen.
Yeah. So, and then also the basic stats of the game, they're called Charm, Cool, Sharp, Tough, and Weird. So, very easy to figure out. We have a whole bunch of playbooks in front of us, and I'm just going to read these off randomly. We have the Spell Slinger, the Professional, the Chosen, the Initiate, the Mundane, the Monstrous, the Spooky, the Wronged, the Crooked, the Divine, the Flake, and the Expert. And these are all different character types that you can have. A lot of this, the game draws a lot of inspiration from TV shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, that kind of thing. A lot of like vampire movies where, they go in and they hunt Dracula down and stuff like that. Also, there is some influence from like the Dresden Files, Spellslinger being the most obvious example of that. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool influences on here in terms of monsters and everything. And one thing that I really like about this game is of the week. Every session is supposed to be a whole story. And then if you want to, you can kind of make it like a TV show where there's arcs and everything like that. And that's how you can do a campaign, but it's definitely perfect for a one-shot. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pause. We're going to go ahead and look over the books. Everybody's going to choose which book they want to work with. And then we'll go ahead and create the characters. We'll come back and introduce the characters and then go from there. All right? We are back. Now, Jeffrey, what have you chosen for your character?
I have chosen the Mundane.
The Mundane?
The most useless person that somehow ends up being useless.
Is the useless person who ends up being useless. That describes Jeremy. I mean, not Jeremy, it describes Jeff. I should look at Jeremy and try to say something.
No, that describes me perfectly.
Yeah.
It describes me perfectly. My character's name is Ray, short for Raymond Nichol.
And what does your character look like?
My character, he's a man with a trustworthy face and normal clothes.
Now, you were mentioning that he has a very interesting form of conveyance.
Yeah. So he rides around a skateboard. And for his weapons, he has a pocket knife or multi-tool and a sledgehammer or fireman's axe.
Have you decided which one you'll go with? Either the sledgehammer or the fireman's axe?
Sledgehammer.
Now, is there a particular reason that you have a sledgehammer? Was it like something that you...
Well, there are a few reasons. One, it does maximum damage. Two, it doesn't get caught by the blade. So if I hit something, it smashes them and doesn't grab my weapon out of my hand.
Did you have any particular affiliation with the sledgehammer? Like, did you use it as part of your previous life before you became a monster hunter? Or?
Not really. It was an easy-to-use weapon.
Okay.
Doesn't take a lot of skill to wield a hammer.
How did you become a monster hunter?
Well, I think that will come into play with the history.
Okay. But did you have any thoughts of what you were going to do there at this point, or just Ray is his own free character?
He's a free character that looks like he's a friend of some sort to at least one person, probably multiples.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on to Jeremy. And Jeremy, what did you choose for your playbook?
I picked The Wronged.
The Wrong.
Yes. And my character's name is Jace Thompson.
Now, how were you wronged, Jace?
I was wronged when my family was all killed when I was a young boy. I was only 3 years old. Woke up to screaming in the house. I decided the best course of action was to hide in the closet. And peeking through the slats in the closet door, I saw just shadows moving about. Never did get to see fully the mysterious creature that killed my family. All that was left was shredded clothes and lots of blood.
Mm.
So my parents were both killed, and my siblings were killed. I had an older brother and a younger sister who was killed. Interesting thing, though, about the younger sister, in her crib was stuck straight down in the mattress was a old dagger, which I've always kept with me.
When they were killed, did the authorities come like that night, or was it at least until the next morning that you were alone in the house?
Well, I was alone in the house for what seemed like at least days. And then I guess a neighbor finally came to check.
So it was
I can only assume it was days later.
Now, did you grow up with family members, or were you put into like some kind of foster care system?
I was in foster care.
How'd that go for you? Were you bounced around a lot?
I was bounced around quite a bit.
Nightmares?
Yes.
What do you look like?
I'm a man. I'm just now turned 18. I have icy eyes, ragged clothes. I have an old pickup truck as my mode of transportation.
Now, have you been like basically living as a transient right now, or do you have a base of operations?
The state has set me up with a low-income apartment.
Okay, sounds good. Aaron, tell us about your playbook. What did you choose?
I chose the expert.
The expert. You want to be an expert at things.
I would like to be an expert at something.
And what's your character's name?
My name is Alan Scott.
Alan Scott. And Alan Scott, the expert. What is your speciality?
My speciality is preparedness, and I know everything.
You know everything.
Or I can find out everything.
How do you know everything?
I have spent much time studying the ways of monsters, the ways of the supernatural. I have set up my own base of operations, and a lot of people come to me when they need information on some of the weird that's out there.
Okay. Now, how did you become interested in the monstrous?
Started out, actually, I first read about it. I was already an adult, and I just happened to find an old book at a little bookshop. And as I read it, I started to see that there was truth in what they were writing about. Picked it up because it sounded crazy, and I thought it'd be a chuckle. And the first time something showed up to try to take the book back, because it wasn't supposed to be in the hands of the usual person, the regular everyday guy, I realized that it was all true.
What is one thing that you always wanted to tell your mother but could not work up the nerve to?
She should have had more children.
Were you an only child?
I was an only child. I would have liked to have had a sibling or a brother.
Specifically a brother.
Specifically a brother, but a sibling would have been nice.
Okay. Did you ever have any experience with the supernatural or cryptid before?
No, not until I was an adult.
Okay. But my question is all of your knowledge book knowledge, or have you actually...
Yes, so it is not all book knowledge. So I started reading about it, and then a monster showed up to take it back. It was a vampire. By the skin of my teeth and the knowledge gained from the book, I was able to survive that attack.
Okay.
And that caused me to start preparing, and I built up a library of books. It is both lore and a magical library, and I keep studying, and more monster hunters are coming to me for some advice about what's out there.
Now, do you live in a house, or do you have like an apartment?
No, I actually live in a cabin in the woods.
Cabin in the woods. Okay. Sounds good. And what do you look like?
I am senior middle-aged man, scarred face, generally jeans, boots, occasional t-shirt.
Do you have any specific weapons?
Yes, I actually have 3 weapons.
Okay.
I carry around a magical dagger that was procured for me. I carry a juju bag and a magnum.
Okay.
You never know what you're going to run into.
Where did you get the juju bag?
I made it myself.
Okay. I guess you would have the knowledge for that. All right, Elijah. What playbook did you choose, bud?
So I chose the professional,
Okay.
and my character's name is Jinn Jackson.
Now, how long have you been a monster hunting professional?
About 3 years. I'm 26 now, so.
Okay. Now, did you fall into this job on your own, or did you go into like a job thinking it was something else and it turned out to be monster hunting?
I pretty much went into it on my own.
Okay. And did you have like an experience that made you decide to become a monster hunter, or was this something that you just heard about through some other source?
I just heard that it existed and I wanted to be a part of it.
Okay, cool. What was your first hunt like?
Well, I was really scared because it was the first time, and it was a group of werewolves, and I couldn't really do much because I didn't have that much experience.
Okay.
But as I got into it more and we started going on more hunts, I started becoming one of the best fighters.
And did you typically work with other people, or would you work on your own during those times?
At first, I would work in groups because they didn't trust me on my own, but as I started to gain their trust, they let me go on solo missions.
Now, do you work for a specific organization, or are you freelance?
I do work for an agency.
Okay. And it's just called the agency?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, what do you look like?
I'm a man with a determined face and a paramilitary uniform.
Okay. Now, so like fatigues and everything like that. Do you have any body armor?
I have a flak vest.
Okay, cool. let's go ahead and talk about history. We'll go ahead and circle back to Jeff to start this process out. Go around the group and have each player pick their hunter's history with the other hunters. They do this by picking one of the shared events or relationships from the list in their playbook. So, I'm assuming that we're going to choose like one for each other person.
Yeah, that's kind of how it says.
Does your character have powers? Okay, because one of them says you're a bit suspicious of them, maybe due to their unnatural powers or something like that.
I mean, under the basic moves, everybody can use magic.
Yeah, everybody can use like magical items and everything like that.
The dagger that I do have is is enchanted.
You have 0 and weird.
I have 0 and weird, so I'm unmagical.
I think even then.
Well, that means you still use it. You just don't get any modifiers to your roll.
Yeah.
You have to roll the.
Maybe that one isn't one that's good for this group because it seems like we're all like if we had a monstrous or a divine, then that might have been, or a spell slinger, then that would have been a little bit better choice for one of those characters.
Well, Jace introduced me to the existence of monsters because I stumbled upon him fighting them.
So what was that fight like? Was this something that was like you were walking home from work and saw something in an alley?
I was just walking riding my skateboard home from work.
Where did you work before?
Pizza shop.
I knew that was good.
Going home from a pizza shop, I didn't make enough money to afford anything better than a skateboard. So.
Do you deliver the pizzas on your skateboard?
No, the company gave me a bike. I had to leave that there.
Be like 17 and deliver pizzas on your skateboard.
Yeah, I was riding home on my skateboard, and I heard something in an alley and was like, "What the heck is that?" in passing, and saw like Monster Duel, and went back to check it out, and you had just finished fighting the monster, and you were like, "It's a monster. Deal with it," and just left.
Sounds like my character.
Yeah.
That's how we know each other.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
So I'm going to further define that relationship. Jeff's character, Ray, remembers that encounter. Jace does not. First time he remembers Ray is when he stood between me and what I needed to find out.
How did he do that?
I was close to finding out the breed of monsters that killed my family, since I still don't know that. And you somehow got in the way of me finding that key information.
Because I wanted to know more about what you were doing, and you weren't very forthcoming with what you were doing. And I was being one of those nagging teenager types. Like, what is going on? I know something now, and now I need to know more, so I know what I know.
All right, so let's ask this question. How old are you now?
22, somewhere around there.
Okay, so if this happened when you were a teenager, say 17, that would make me like 13 when I was fighting monsters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which would explain why I'm like, why is this little kid asking me these questions? Yeah. The old man in the woods.
How old is Alan?
Is that what it says on your paper?
No.
Okay. That's me.
That's what he said his character was.
Oh.
What was his name again?
Alan.
We're gonna go with "They're Your Hero." You are my hero. Exactly the kind of monster hunter I want to be.
Oh, this is gonna be awesome. This is going to be awesome. Just wait till you get to mine.
The reason this is because of the way that I've seen you methodically go through and know exactly what you're doing when you're fighting these things. I've seen you look at the situation and know what to do, and then do that. Exactly take them out the way you planned. And I don't know how to do that yet, so...
Fair enough.
Your name was Ray again? Or
Mine is Alan.
Your name is Ray, sir.
My name is Ray.
And so it begins.
His name is Jinn, if you're wondering.
Jinn and I are good friends from back in school. When we were kids. Grew up in close-by neighborhoods and just hung out all the time at school.
Jinn's a few years older than you, though.
But I was a cool kid. I was one of those young, cool kids hung out with the older kids because the younger ones were too immature for me.
Okay.
Or too mysterious.
Yeah, or too mysterious.
You can't figure out those young kids and their monster killing. So.
That's how I know these guys.
That's how you know these guys. Awesome. All right.
Alright, so we've already defined how I know Jeff.
That's
or
correct.
Ray.
Right.
How Jace knows Ray. So for Alan, Jace respects his hard-earned knowledge and often goes to him for advice.
Alan, you went from like Benedict.
So I thought I almost played this character a little bit differently, but I was like, no, that's too much Benedict. Let's skip that. let's get rid of that.
Yeah, so you went from being like the group cut up as Benedict to being the wise man.
Yeah. So I'm going to add on to that, say he good for his knowledge, but Jace thinks he can perform a little bit better at the monster killing. So
I probably think so too.
All right, and for Jinn saw me absolutely lose it and go berserk. Situation was, after Ray stopped me from finding out, I just went on a monster killing spree. I guess it would have been his agency was in charge of, oh, these are the monsters you're hunting and killing. And I just busted in Leroy Jenkins style and did it all on my own.
So you totally went all Jason Bourne on a bunch of monsters.
Yes.
And
I'm supposed to ask Jinn how much collateral damage that cost.
it sounds like you did a lot of damage. Like,
Yeah. Because one of my I guess moves that I have is called What Doesn't Kill Me.
yeah.
So if I suffer any harm, I gain pluses until the fight is over.
Okay.
So I get stronger with getting hit.
So, do you think he caused harm to like the physical location that you guys were trying to go into? Do you think?
I mean, probably.
Do you think he might have like accidentally set things on fire? Do you think he
Accidentally on purpose set things on fire, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is that your organization is like really hush hush, and you don't want to be known very well, and so like there's all your commandos getting ready to bust in there. You go in, you set the building on fire and everything, causes fire trucks to show up, journalists, all sorts of bad stuff. So they have to figure out how to get their people out of there before they can be noticed by all these officials that are around. So that's kind of bad. All right.
So Alan's already a little respected and a little bit worshipped. So, in conjunction with that, would you like to be my student, apprentice, ward, or child? Not you. Would Ray like to be?
Yeah, that would be a little odd. Sure, yeah, you could be like your ward or apprentice.
Ward or apprentice? We will go with apprentice.
Fair enough.
So I am attempting to impart my years and years of knowledge into your mundane mind.
It's a really hard job.
Jace, the first time you came to me for advice, so you have been coming. Mm-hmm. The advice I gave you got you out of a lot of trouble. What was the trouble?
The trouble was that I killed a breed of monster that I not quite understand. And I guess this breed of monster has a pack mentality, so I killed one and the rest of the pack was after me.
And Jinn. Is there any way I can combine two of these? So one of them is they know some of your dark secrets, but they've agreed to keep quiet about them. The other one is they once helped you get a singular item that is now part of your haven.
I think you would have to go with one or the other.
Okay. Jinn, your agency has actually investigated me in the past because of some of the less savory things I've had to do to build up my haven and some of the things that I have there. So you know a lot about me, and specifically, you know that I have engaged in human sacrifice to get some of the things that I have.
That's dark, dude.
I don't know how much I want to be like you.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Ray, just lay down right here.
Come here, my fine apprentice.
All right, and we're moving on to Jinn.
So, Ray, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are on the agency watch list because you're just obsessed with figuring out more about monsters. And so I've been keeping an eye on you for these past few years. We've already pretty much covered how I know Jace, setting buildings on fire and stuff. So, let's say after that incident, I was sent to deal with you because you were a hazard to the agency's policies. Yeah, obviously. I was sent to deal with you, and you did not go quietly, obviously.
No.
Set more things on fire.
Okay, the theme is setting things on fire. Alright, I got it.
And we were forced to actually retreat again because, more public presence is not a good thing for this agency. So you got away, and we pretty much just let you do your own thing since then. I don't know how to stop you yet.
Jace 2, the man 0.
And then, Alan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I met you because I was sent by the agency to get help with a monster that we were hunting, and you helped us, so now you're really well regarded with the agency.
Okay.
And for the purposes of the game, you just put up with these two because they're with him, essentially.
That seems like the case for all of us. We put up with each other because
I got the
because of
stuff.
Alan.
All right, so that's the introduction to the characters and everything like that. I think that would be a good place to stop for this week. And when we come back, we will begin the game. Until next time, hope you all have a good one. Thank you for listening to Bone Throwers Theater. We are releasing this podcast under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. That means that you can share the podcast, but please do not modify it or try to gain financially from it. If you would like to visit our website, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater.com. If you would like to send us an email, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @bonethrowerstheater, and also you can look us up on Facebook and Google+. And until next time, may the bones fall ever in your favor. This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.